Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Welcome once again to Pandora's box, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a new co-host on the show, or at least for the foreseeable future. Perido Greenleaf.
Hello.
Or Imogen is her real name, but we've named her Perido Greenleaf.
Yeah.
Because, as it is written, whenever someone comes to work here, they must be given a funny nickname.
That's right.
But then, as we have obviously the mayor of Winkletown over here, Bullwinkle himself.
We can't see me this week, man.
Are you a ghost?
I'm a ghost this week.
A ghost in the
I'm
machine?
like
He's like John Cena.
I am.
Yes.
I am.
You are a big fan as well, aren't you? You're of the John Cena era.
I
of
am.
wrestling
My
fans.
next thing that I'm going to purchase is some jorts, some blue jorts.
Oh, I love that.
You know,
What
so I
is
can
that?
fully be like jean shorts, man.
Oh, jorts. I see.
Yeah.
Man, he's gone
John
full,
Cena's
he's gone full new metal, Drew. He's changed his fashion recently. He came in yesterday looking like frickin' 2001 Limp Bizkit concert. Honestly, like it was almost as if like he walked into the room and I said, "Dun, it's just one of those days." And I came in like baggy hoodie.
You still rocking
like,
the mustache?
three
I am,
collars.
man. I'm growing out the mullet. I'm rocking a mustache.
Oh.
He's like a
Hell
cross
yeah.
between like a 80s
New me,
redneck
man.
and a new metal, new Limp Bizkit fan now. So yeah. So if you listen to Rap Radar, I imagine it's suddenly got a bit more of a heavy, new early 2000s edgy feel.
That's it, man. There's no more rap radar. It's just new metal radar.
It's just
now.
nothing but.
There's still a
Limp
bit
Bizkit
of
tracks.
rapping
Yeah,
new
it's just
metal
break stuff on
sometimes, isn't there?
repeat.
So yeah, that's cool.
What did you say?
There's still a bit of rapping in like new metal stuff in there, so you could,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
you could get away
That's
with
what I'm saying.
it. That's
Yeah,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
When you guys next see me on the camera for the pod, I'll be a completely different person. I'll look completely different.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so Imogen's been doing some work experience with us. You do media in college, don't you?
Yeah, I do media T level at BTC.
What does T level mean?
It's kind of like one down from an A level. Like
Oh,
A
okay.
level's all exams. This one's kind of like practical with an exam. So I had
Sounds
my
more fun.
exams, and then
We didn't have that terminology in
No,
college.
we didn't
did
have
we?
T.
No,
we
I
didn't
think
have
it's
to, you know.
changed.
The
like
world
name.
has changed so much, man.
a
Don't
while
you feel
ago
like
now.
we're getting to that age now, Drew, where we just feel like all of a sudden it feels like you're a bit old?
Yeah, and you hear
Like, I know
things
we're
of,
not
like, the way
actually
things are.
old. Like it's all relative, isn't it? Like, you know, we're still young enough that like somebody that's like 60 plus is like, all right, young'un.
Yeah.
But like we're
Well, I
old
definitely get a
enough.
bit more achy
You're
now
unk
as
now.
well, like
Yeah.
with things. If I sit in a chair for too long and I get up, I go, oh.
Yeah, definitely. Or like, do you ever do this one? I did this the other day, and I was like, mate, what the hell's going on? Literally, it was like absolutely fit as a fiddle all Monday, sprightly, awesome gym sesh. Got home from work, running up and down the garden with Evie, no care in the world, you know, happy as Larry. Woke up Tuesday morning, and I had like, sort of like the back of my hip area, sort of like in between my right buttock and my back. There was almost like a weird like twinging sensation, and I was like,
God.
mate, what even is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was
yeah.
like, but the thing is, it's like when you're say like minus 30,
yeah.
to have something like that, there has to be like a solid reason. What I mean is
yeah.
you have to actually like
you
have
had
an
to
injury.
landed funny.
Yeah, you'd have to like do something stupid and thus cause an injury, like jumped off a building. Oh no, it could be like a sporting injury. Could be like you were just messing about when you were drunk with your mates or something, done something really stupid. That makes sense. But like, how do you get something like that sleeping in a bed?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
literally,
Or like not know what it was if you did do it for something like the day before when you were running or something, like not knowing actually what caused that. Like
yeah, and that's the thing. I'm sure that wasn't the case because I felt nimble as a cat before I went to sleep on Monday night. You know, like I was
as
fine.
a cat.
Do you know what I mean? No, I was 100% fine though. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, in general, I'm like, you know, I'm a flexible guy, as you know. I remember you always being amazed through that I can get in the lotus position, even though I'm like a big chonky fella, you know. But like, you know, I'm a flexible guy. Like, it's not like I'm like really like walking around all stiff and that. You know, I'm always squatting full range of motion and doing lots of different types of exercise and stuff. But like, yeah, it's just weird, isn't it, man? It's just weird. Like, just wake up. It's definitely something that happens when you get to 30. 30 plus, then suddenly little aches and pains creep in. As you said, Drew, get up. Been sat down too long. Ugh,
Yeah.
you know? Or like a really long drive.
Yeah.
You know? If you
Yeah.
do like a really, really
You
long
crack.
drive. Like, anything that's like 2.5 hour plus.
Yeah.
And you get out of the car and you're a bit like, oh man, like my hamstrings feel a bit tight. Like
Yeah.
your body's gotten so used to being at a right angle that suddenly feeling like being straight up is like a bit weird for a minute.
Yeah, you're like,
You know?
a bit stiff.
Yeah. Guys, you guys have all got all this to come.
Yeah, man. I'm going to try and make the most of my youth while I have it.
I
Yeah.
think I'm just an old 17-year-old then, because
Have you already got that?
yeah,
Serious?
30-minute drive and I'm like, oh, my
Man,
back.
you're a lost cause.
Really?
I twisted my ankle the other day running about 5 steps. And that was pretty brutal. That felt like I was like, man, that's not good. That's a bad
Oh,
sign.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely hurt myself doing stupid stuff when I was younger, but there was always a good reason for it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it was
It's
never
always
like
doing
just.
something.
Yeah,
I definitely
Yeah.
still do stupid stuff and come off fine at the moment. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've still got it on my side for now.
Yeah. We just to get a bit more background on Imogen though. So yeah, me and Drew know very well a guy called Luke Child Maple. We've known him since
Heaps.
since we were about your age.
Yeah.
Since we were about Imogen's age. Imogen's 17. So God help her working with us. But she's already heard some crazy stories. But yeah, so we met Luke Child Maple. Yeah, when we were about like 17, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Do you know
yeah.
what? I can't even
College.
really remember like how I met him, because I don't
Yeah.
think I met him through college. I think I just must have met him through friends of mine that had
Yeah.
probably met him in college.
Do you know? Do you know the thing of like when Josh started? It's like you can sit here, miss, that kind of thing. That thing of like when
That's-
when
Oh
wh-
yeah,
yeah.
or like when you came over, like, do you want to see my Subaru? Or,
yeah, and
Yeah.
like
have you
so
got a
wh-
Luke Child Maple?
yeah.
equivalent of that,
So
have you?
basically, when Luke had started at the college, when we had already started our first year of the diploma in music performance, so the course had already started, and we were already, and he was like he still got on the course, but he'd just moved to the area, and it was like a bit
Yeah,
of a
'cause
late starter.
Can you remember where he moved from? 'Cause
From
he-
like near
yeah.
Wales way, it was like
Was
oh
it
no,
near
sorry,
Wales?
not Wales. The one past Exeter, it's Tiverton. Tiverton, yeah.
No,
So
yeah, is Tiverton past Exeter or before Everton?
yeah, well, it's near. I know it's near. I think it might
Yeah,
be
it's
before.
around Exeter.
Yeah, so he came from Tiverton,
It's in Devon.
and when he first got in, I remember like I was the one that like the lecturer was like, oh, show Luke around and that, like, and just like and stuff. So
so
I
you
was
were the
kind of
guy
like,
that did that?
yeah, and literally he came round my house for like tea, like, and stuff like, and it was funny and like and I remember we
You
invited
bonded
him
over
round for
being-
Christmas and stuff. He never actually came for Christmas, but I
Oh,
remember
that's
because his family
He was like, "Thanks, but no thanks."
he came down and he moved out of his mum's and he just lived on his own from like 17 in town. He
He
had a
lived
flat
down
and
by the
stuff.
train station. with
Yeah,
his friend James.
so,
I went around
um,
his house loads.
Yeah, that's it. So he
Dark
kind of like
horse.
had his own place and everything. But so we were like, oh, my mum was like, oh, what you doing for Christmas, Luke? And he was like, oh, nothing actually, because like they still live in Tiverton and stuff.
Moved out, mate. Moved
yeah.
out my mum, mate.
Yeah, so like I remember we invited
my
him round
impression.
we invited him round for Christmas dinner, but he never actually took us up on that. So
But I'm
We
sure
just
he
became
appreciated
friends.
the offer.
Mm.
I can see why you guys would have bonded early. I mean, like, your general way of being is like happy chappies, and you also both just frickin' love guitars.
yeah. Yeah,
If
I've always
Imogen wasn't
looked
here, I
up to
might even
Luke
word
as
that
well,
slightly
like with his guitar playing as well, because he was always just like
Oh, I'm sure he
Insane.
equally looks up to you, man. But yeah, you're both just obviously like next level good. you know?
Yeah,
There's, like,
Luke's
really
always
good.
like electric. Like is I remember Luke's vibrato is like insane. It's like really natural and like really good. And I remember I would always be like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" And he could play like the Master of Puppets solo in that. Like when we first started jamming and like first in college, he was like well into like his Metallica and stuff like that. And,
Oh, he loves metal.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember him just ripping like the Master of Puppets solo, and I was like, man,
I
this
share
guy
like
can
a
shred.
lot of this. Yeah, man. I share like a lot of the same opinions on music as Luke. I feel like he's like he likes
he's
sort of
very,
like
very.
he likes what he likes, but he's like, do you know what I mean? Like with certain things, like with metal, like, and I share the same opinion. It's like, I remember he was like, would joke about how, like some metal bands almost just for the sake of it just do non-stop like double bass drumming like all the way through the song, but it's like almost like loses its effect, loses its meaning. Like there's no point in just doing it for the sake of it. Or like me and you have talked in the past, you're like, just being heavy for the sake of being heavy.
Overly
like
technical and stuff.
It should have a purpose.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It should have like a purpose, or that like music to me is more about like the story, and then the peaks and the troughs, and then the building up to a crescendo, and then it's like that's way better than just non-stop, just like like. But I remember Luke being like, "Come here, mate. Come here. The only band that can get away with that."
Mm-hmm.
Come here. The only band that can get away with that. I don't know why I can remember him saying that, but yeah, his house that used to live down near the train station with this guy James. I can't remember if James was like an old friend of his or like a cousin or something, but like it was really common, like when everyone would like go up, go to uptown when we were sort of like 18, 19, we'd all like always go back to his and James's house afterwards, and there'd just be like, I just remember that it was like quite a small living room, but there'd just be like 20 people sat in there, Just,
it was like party central.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, shout out Luke Child Maple anyway, because Luke
what a legend.
Me and he was like, mate, we've got a really nice girl called Imogen who wants to do work experience, and he was like, and really hard working and really nice girl, like, and she wants to do some radio stuff, like. So I thought of you, and I was like, mate, if you've considering you've given her such a glowing review, I was like, yeah, let's just do it, because I know what Luke's like as well, and I feel like Luke's the kind of guy you can trust his opinion, like.
Oh
do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
100%.
If Luke said that, she'd be good, then I knew she'd be good, because Luke he's quite a perfectionist, isn't he? Like as much as he loves to have a laugh and stuff, you can tell like what you can see, like even in the way he approaches music, like when it comes down to it, he has actually like very high standards.
Yeah, and like production and all of that stuff. So like we used to do the Glucose Music stuff like back along like years ago.
Explain what that is, because I know what it is, but for people that don't.
So like we used to make backing tracks, like you hear like karaoke versions of songs and stuff. Like we used to
like when you're in an elevator.
Yeah.
And there's like a
where you can buy the license for that track, but it's not the actual track, it's like a copy of it, and we would do that for a company called Glucose Music, and I would like wing it and try and make it sound like the track, but like Luke's like knowledge of production and everything just was like next level, so it was he's always known about signal chains and compression and all of that stuff, which obviously why he's gone into teaching, it was always really impressive. Or like now, like I've been messing around with like signal paths for my acoustic guitar recently, and I was like messaging him, and he was like telling me like some of the outboard gear he's got just like lying around, and it's all these like tape saturation and like these like outboard cool bits of kit, and
people are like, what the hell is Drew talking about right now?
Yeah,
these are just
but it always like really impresses me how much he knows about.
If
all
Luke
that
was
stuff,
there, he'd be like, yeah, mate. 100%.
Oh yeah, that's DX12.
Yeah. Is it uncanny? Is it like he's here?
Yeah.
Is it like Luke's here right now? Yeah, so Luke obviously is the head of music at Bridgewater and Taunton College, and Imogen is a media student, but there's a lot of crossover, isn't there? And you do a lot of work together.
Yeah, we have a live events in our course as well, so obviously because of the music, I think he also leads the live events. So yeah. So
you basically, as media student, like film the events and get involved with that and things
we
like that.
filmed all their live stuff. So
so that's what led to Imogen doing work experience here anyway. So it's all thanks to Luke Chard Maple, the little wonderkins that he is. I will never forget, and I swear to this day that Joe Wynn told me this, but for about 2 years I thought he was Manx, and that obviously my granddad's from the Isle of Man. And as a result, a bit like you with Scotland, Drew, I'm very proud of my Manx like roots, especially because the Isle of Man, it's like a little island nation. It's got a very proud history, and I just love it as well. So I'm very almost like proud of that part of my heritage. And it was really funny because there was a stage for about 2 years in between, probably like when I first met him and when we were like 19, 20 or something, that whenever I'd like see him, I'd be like, my Manx brother, and he'd just be like,
hey,
yeah. And then one night he was like, mate, why is he always call me that? And I'm like, because you're from the Isle of Man, aren't you? And he'd be like, no. And I was like, what? He was like, no, I'm not from the Isle of Man, man. And I was like, man, Joe Wynn told me that you were from the Isle of Man. And then I think Joe Wynn was there, and I like called him over, and I was like, you told me that Luke's from the Isle of Man? And Joe was just like, no, I didn't. And I was like, yes, you did. To this day, I swear he did. I reckon that he maybe thought. I reckon that maybe he thought Luke was, or something, and then said to me. And then I don't know if he forgot afterwards that he told me that or something. But it was quite like one of those funny little things. Do you know what I mean? But for a couple of years, I was like, every time I see him, Manx brother. And in my head, I even rationalised it. I was like, well, I know I'm about a foot taller than Luke, but other than that, we have pretty similar like look. You know, when you're like overanalyzing something, like, you know, both got like pretty bright coloured eyes, similar colour skin and that, like, you know, just like, to be honest, you could say that about so many people.
No, you do look quite alike, to be fair.
But I'm like little and large version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you see, like, you know, like the two, you go down like the sauce aisle in the supermarket and there's like the really big Heinz ketchup and then the smaller Heinz ketchup. That's like me and Luke. Oh man, yeah. Shout out Luke though. What a guy. And say such a good musician. Like Luke's one of those guys that whenever he puts anything up of him like doing anything on social media, I'm like, mate, that's just blown my face off.
It's the feel. You know, he's got such feel with it. Like he can technically do fast stuff and that, but like the vibrato and that. I just remember it in college. I've still got the image in my head of like him like jamming with Jules and stuff, like the guitar teacher, and he just had this like this feel. It was cool.
He was probably better than them then. Do you know what I mean? But it's like it's not just the feel. It's how flawless it is.
Oh yeah. That's technically
I mean?
Amazing, and then this awesome feel.
There's never even the slightest bit of a bum note. You know, there's never any bum note. There's no even any like hint of a bum note or anything remotely bummish about anything that he ever does. Do you know what I mean? It's just flawless. And when I see it, I'm like, I could just not do something that crisp like in a million years. You know, it's so crisp and flawless. It's like amazing. Yeah. It blows my mind. And then it's like the fact that he also is like amazing on drums. Obviously, you know, I mean, yeah, you'd expect an amazing guitarist to be awesome on bass as well. But, you know, obviously great bassist, great drummer, great guitarist. And I think I've heard a couple of people told me as well that like low key he's actually a pretty good singer as well. But he just doesn't really do it. You've heard him sing?
Well, not like properly, but he's had to do a bit of a mic thing before, and we try and get him to sing. It doesn't really work always, but
really,
he used to do a bit of
not like full out.
He used to do a bit of harmonies in what was it? Oh my god, how's that gone out of my head? With Joe Wynn and stuff.
What were they called, man? Oh,
mate,
I swear it's like one of those
embarrassing.
things that usually I just know it, but you know when it's
Suicide
like,
Blondes.
Suicide Blondes, that's it.
He used to do backing vocals on the drums and do like harmonies sometimes with that, and it was always really cool.
He's like Bran from Mastodon.
Yeah, because he played drums in Suicide
and doing
Blondes,
vocals
didn't he?
as well. That's freaking sick, man.
Yeah.
Luke is definitely one of the best musicians I've ever known. Amazing,
legend.
You know, what an absolute legend. Yeah, we were talking before we came on air. Curiously, Bullwinkle and Peridot Greenleaf don't like the smell of Somerset air, which I find is amazing considering they both grew up in Somerset. What I mean by that is, you know, manure air.
It's a strange thing to like, wouldn't you think?
I mean, I'm not saying like I like go out and if I'm like,
methane.
Oh god, loving the smell of that.
That's the good stuff.
Loving the smell of that horse poo air.
Yeah.
Do you know the worst one is when they muck spread with chicken shit. I mean poo. And like that is the worst.
So viscerally.
Yeah,
they much that chicken.
Yeah, because that stinks. Like I definitely don't. I'm not digging the smell of that one. But like the horse manure isn't as bad. I'm all right.
They
with
all stink. Why do you enjoy the smell of them all?
I don't. No. He just said he doesn't enjoy them, and I don't enjoy them either. But I think it's like it's all relative. So like, I would pick the smell of say stepping out into my back garden and having the whiffed faint of some, you know, there's some farmers obviously been spreading in his fields like a couple of, you know, I don't know, 50 foot from my house or something. I'd much rather have that smell than, you know, like, when like, because we're not used to obviously being in super urban environments obviously most of the time, because just the fact that we live in, you know, very rural counties. Like you still live in a fairly rural county, Drew, in Shropshire. We live in Somerset. So when you say like go to London, I can like smell the smog and the dirt. You know, I can smell the pollution. You know, and like when you mix that with all like the public bins and like just the lack of greenery, I feel like it's almost like a bit suffocating and a bit smoggy.
See, for me, the poo air just makes me like a little bit sad. You know, like if I'm, you know, when you're driving like past like somewhere, and the air comes in,
Makes you sad.
The air comes in, you just go, not again, man. They got me again. You know,
not again.
It's like driving.
Yeah, because then you got the issue of like, do you put the window up? Do you keep the window down? I keep the window down because I think, you know, you got to circulate it back out. But But I don't know. It just feels like it's then lingering. You know. I went to Lilstock the other day and lit a fire.
Yeah, right.
And mate, it was poo. It was poo city over there.
Poo. That's like a mile and a half from my house.
I know. But it was until we lit the fire. And the fire, then you're just smelling like coal.
Extinguished the poo.
Exactly.
It burnt the poo fumes away.
Mm.
Right.
No, but it's like when you come back from like a different country and you come home and you smell it. It's like, I think that's the only time when it's a little bit more like, not nice, but it's a bit more like, I suppose, because it's more like, back
fresh.
in England. Yeah, it's like,
you're like,
we're back in
fresh
England.
Horse poo.
Yeah, great. Lovely
Fresh
in the morning.
manure.
Yeah.
See, I don't really think about it too much, to be honest with you.
It is weird.
I think it's one of those things where if I was like more acclimatized to it, it probably would bother me less.
Yeah.
Like how farmers probably don't even really notice it, to be honest. But if I was to like turn up to a farm now, I'd be like, I could never like work as a farmer.
No,
you know?
I agree.
The thing is, it's like
put me off too much.
But you live in Puriton, and you live in Durley.
Yeah.
So like relatively speaking, that's still, I mean, it's still rural-ish.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still something I have to come into contact with.
You live next to Bridgewater and you live next to the M5, but you still both live in areas where there's farms nearby.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That whole area sort of behind Puriton is like farmland for miles, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of farms quite around it.
Yeah.
To be honest, man, I think even though I'm like 90% English through my like ancestry, I don't think I don't fit the English. We were saying earlier, I'm always cold. So I don't really fit the English weather.
I remember you telling me once that you wanted to be Asian.
I'd quite like to be Asian. Yeah, I'd quite like to be Asian. I think Asians are quite cool. I'd feel a bit more like Goku then.
I remember that's what you said at the time. Quite like the idea that you'd be like a bit like an anime character.
I would be talking in voice lines if I was.
If you were going to be a Dragon Ball character, I reckon you'd be Gohan.
I'm happy with that, man.
But rather than half Saiyan, half human, you'd be half English, half Asian.
I've been getting really back into like Dragon Ball at the moment.
Have you?
Been watching loads of like shorts about it and everything. And
really?
Yeah, man.
Anything in particular?
A lot of like the Namek saga.
Oh yeah, legendary.
From back in Dragon Ball Z. Just anything with Piccolo as well.
You love Piccolo?
Piccolo and Vegeta. I think they're my guys.
You're a stickler for a redemption arc.
I am, and I also like the no nonsense of it. I like the Piccolo just turns up. He's got his hands ready. He's gonna fight.
He's got his hands ready.
Yeah.
Piccolo turns up. He's got his hands ready. Exactly. It's like a kids program. It's like so intensely. Piccolo just turns up. Hands
messing
ready.
around with Piccolo.
No, there's not.
But he does normally lose, which is always quite sad. But
I mean, not always.
Not always.
He's definitely one of the strongest.
But I feel like if there's ever a villain that turns up, they'll mess up Piccolo, and then you'll be like, oh, this guy means business, I
don't know. I mean, he did. What was it? He was Freezer, second form Freezer. He messed up.
True.
But then when he went third form, then he messed Piccolo up.
Yeah, man.
But to be fair, that was still pretty impressive.
Yeah,
that was still pretty impressive.
He's just a cool character, man. He's got a cool voice actor, like Vegeta too. Yeah. I'm trying to think how Piccolo even speaks now. I couldn't really do a Piccolo accent.
Gohan. Like, a bit like that. Not really. Yeah. Not really.
Gohan. I just love. There's something about anime that, like, I love how over the top everything is and like epic. It's all like, it's not like real life at all. And I don't really watch any other anime other than Dragon Ball. But Dragon Ball is cool.
Oh, there's an amazing anime I saw like probably about a year ago or a couple years ago, and it was like samurai with the blue eyes. Have you ever heard of something like that?
No.
And it's I'll have to look it up, but it's that was epic.
It was like a movie or a series?
It was a series, and it was like on Netflix or something. But it was like so cool. It was like an adult anime, so like lots of blood and stuff, and like crazy scenes and stuff, and it's this guy. I think it was like a samurai, but he's like of a different nationality or something. And there's this like story behind it. I can't remember much more than it was just epic. Like the fight scenes were epic. Yeah,
that's gonna be my anime origin story. The samurai with blue eyes.
Yeah,
with the baby blues. Samurai with baby blues.
I've never watched anime before.
You've never watched a single anime?
No. Like, I know, isn't like Pokemon Go supposed to be like anime?
Pokemon is an anime.
I've never even watched that. Like, I've heard of it. I know what it is, but I never watched it.
Yeah, of course. Everyone knows what Pokemon is.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of my friends watch it, but I've
really?
never watched anime, no.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't even know that you could get, like, to your age without even watching anime?
Yeah, I've never watched a single one at all. No.
Don't feel at all pulled in by Pikachu?
I almost watched Pokemon when I was younger, but I just never did. I don't know. I just wasn't my type of animation. I was more like the Disney, not like a crazy Disney kid, but I liked the Disney.
What was your favourite Disney movies?
Princess and the Frog and Cars. And I used to like Bolt and Fox and the Hound.
Is
like
Cars
the old
Disney,
ones.
is it? I didn't know if it was Pixar.
Well, it's Pixar.
I think Pixar's now owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
everything's owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Taking
Disney
over the
takeover.
world, aren't they? Don't know how I feel about that, you know.
Old
Have
Yellow.
have they got secret Machiavellian malicious intent? We can ponder.
Know.
We can only ponder.
You never know. We were talking about childhood films the other day, weren't we? So good. What was your guys' childhood film like growing up?
I guess all the classic Disney ones that came out were already out when we were little kids. I say like my favourite Disney when I was a little kid was like Beauty and the Beast. What about you, Drew? I like
Apparently,
things like Sword in the Stone.
I can't remember it, but like when I was really little, apparently I was obsessed with Bambi. When I was really, but I don't remember it. I was that little, and then
Quite melancholic.
yeah, and then
Right.
I remember, and then when I was a bit older, I used to love the Robin Hood, but with all the animals.
Oh,
that
the
was
fox
all.
and that.
Yeah, and
That's
the
good,
fox
yeah,
was
that's
Robin.
good,
Like,
yeah.
that was an epic one. And then
That's
when
a
I
great
was a
one.
bit older, I liked Lion King and Aladdin. Like they,
Yeah, Aladdin's pretty good.
Aladdin was pretty epic, and I used to
I like
fancy
the live
Jasmine.
action one.
Yeah, with like Will Smith and everything.
Yeah.
Keep my wife's name. Our mouth.
I liked Aladdin as well because Robin Williams like played the genie.
Oh yeah,
So he was like real good with the voice.
And he's
for that
like
and stuff.
legendary actor, and he rest in peace, Robin Williams. He was like a legendary actor from our
Oh,
generation.
Mrs. Doubtfire as well. That
I
was
feel
an
like-
epic one.
I love that film.
Yeah, that's so
I don't
good.
know, I've seen it, but I'm not a massive.
What,
I
Mrs.
remember quite
Doubtfire?
liking, like Flubber.
Help
Yeah,
is
Oh,
on
yeah.
the way, dear.
I liked Flubber. Have you guys ever seen Flubber?
Yeah, I like Flubber. I haven't seen that
to
in
watch
years.
Flubber in school once.
I think I went to the cinema to watch it when I was like 7 or something.
Yeah,
It came
I want to
out,
watch
yeah.
Flubber again.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
pretty
you
good.
were watching stuff like Star Wars as well, like when that came out.
Yeah, I feel like I very early on acquired quite adult taste. So
Yeah,
like
Conan.
from my earliest memories, I was watching like Star Wars and one of my earliest memories is watching Conan when my mum was out. And so very very quickly I got very into like more like adult movies.
For sure.
You know, so like I think by the time I was like in school, and I loved comedy as well. So what I guess even though they weren't necessarily strictly kids movies, I suppose you could argue that The Mask was. I got really into like Jim Carrey movies when I was about 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I used to
like
love The
eight-
Mask.
Yeah, like Ace Ventura was probably my gateway into Jim Carrey movies, and then from that it was like anything I could find that was Jim Carrey related. That's pretty much how me and Josh became friends. How me and Josh bonded. Josh obviously being Bullwinkle's oldest brother, and
Weren't you allowed
Drew's
to
best
like
friend
buy
as well.
the films from Adrian's?
Adrian.
Like he just.
I'm not sure if it was more horror movies we bought from Adrian, which is hilarious because so there was this. I mean, it's still there, but it's under different ownership now. There's a record shop in town called Westkey Records, down Westkey, as you can imagine, and it used to be owned by a guy called Adrian Fraser, who now, funnily enough, has a record shop called Cornhill Records in Cornhill. You know? Shout out Adrian, but not the most original names, mate. Come on, just what should I call my record shop? Oh, just where it is. That's basically his thought process. Anyway. Yeah, he used to sell like secondhand VHSs for like cheap in the like 90s. And please don't anybody go and persecute him for this because me and Josh were really happy about it. But he wouldn't really care who you sell them to. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, like a lot of these secondhand movies, like 15s, 18s, and me and Josh would like save up our money. There'd be like £4, £5 VHSs in there, so we'd save up some money, and we'd every now and again we'd go and buy a video, and then we'd like sleep over in each other's houses and we'd watch them. That was more horror movies we did that with though. So yeah, we were
Nightmare on
buying all
Elm
these,
Street.
like, yeah, The Howling, like all the classic one, like Halloween, Candyman, like all the classic horror movies from like back in the day, like
brave,
those
man,
80s,
it's brave.
90s. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it definitely like built up a tolerance early on in life. Do you know what I mean? I think it definitely worked with
Toughened
both.
you up.
Yeah, I think it definitely worked with both me and Josh because we're not really like scared of like movies or anything like that at all, are we? Like me and Josh. Like I think we watch so much traumatizing stuff.
Have
when
you
we're,
ever
like,
seen Josh
in
jump?
single digits. Yes,
Because I jump all the time in movies. Like,
he's not really a jumper, no.
No, like we watched Nosferatu together in the cinema. Like when that came out.
He said that you were hilarious.
I literally jumped down
he
my
said
seat.
like every
nearly,
5
mate.
minutes you were like, oh!
then like he didn't. Oh, he was just so just entranced by it, like,
locked in.
Josh is quite stoical, isn't he? Josh is very he's almost like a bit Tom Bombadil-ish
person. Yeah.
You know, if Josh was the Lord of the Rings character, it'd be Tom Bombadil, because he's very stoical, and it's like you respect his opinion, but his default mood is jolly and silly.
Yeah,
so it's like jolly and silly, but not really like easily shaken. And you know that he will have good input if you could, you know, when push comes to shove. You know, but he's not necessarily actually going to join your quest to destroy the ring.
Yeah.
I'll give you a bit of safe haven, but then, you know, when it's time for him, he wants to do some art, or he wants to have his chili con carne with Claire. Just move on, please.
Yeah,
move along. All right. It's not his problem. Don't involve him in it. You know?
Josh is hilarious at the cinema because you can't like look his. I feel like if you look his direction, you're sort of annoying him a little bit. He's got to be locked in.
Never mind saying anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
even
definitely funny. I could definitely go back. Yeah, think back to like a couple of times when we were like kids and stuff, and we go to the cinema, and like if something like really funny or like epic would happen in the movie, I'd like look at Josh, you know, like get the reaction, but he would never ever look like that. And you just get that like sense, don't you? Like, don't interrupt me.
Yeah. You
know, don't talk to me when I'm like. Probably took me a long time to get that in hindsight.
We went to just not getting the message.
Probably, yeah. We got to like maybe like 15 or 16, and I was like, yeah, just leave. Josh isn't one of those. Josh isn't one of those people. You know, like you know, like some people. Like if me and my missus go to the cinema together, me wife. You know, like if something happens, we're like pretty similar. Like we don't want to be like loud and like be annoying in the cinema, but like if something mental happens, we might have a quick look, like.
Yeah.
You know, we're pretty similar in that regard. Like, you know, obviously, as I said, never like loud
pretty
or like
easy
chatting
going in the cinema.
But like, if something crazy happens, like a bit like, whoa. But like, yeah, Josh is just locked in.
Well, I went to the cinema once with Josh to watch Spider-Man, and there were two people like having sex in the row behind us.
Ooh.
Oh my god!
Do you know what?
Or like fooling around.
I love the idea that happened to Josh as well, because that couldn't have happened to like a worse person. Like, I feel like if that was me,
do you know? In hindsight,
I would have thought it was hilarious. Like it would have like probably annoyed me, especially if I was really enjoying the movie.
You shouldn't.
But I would have thought it was hilarious. Well, I can imagine Josh would have just been like, for God's sake. Also, Josh is a sort of person, whereas like if that annoyed me as much as I knew it annoyed Josh, then I would have said something. But I know that regardless of how much it annoyed Josh, he wouldn't say anything, which in a way makes it even funnier. It makes it even funnier, just the idea that he's like sat there just like so annoyed, like as annoyed as a human can be, but just sat there like taking it like, God's sake.
This is literally what it was. In hindsight, man, I don't know why we didn't move.
Yeah,
you know, because it was an empty cinema. Yeah. There was no one else there except for me and Josh in like the sort of like back somewhere, and then the row behind us, two people just like fooling around, and we just didn't move for some reason. I think they left about halfway through, but that first half was like
once they were done.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have just done it for free somewhere else. They essentially paid to just be a bit annoying in the cinema, and then they didn't even want to watch the movie.
I don't think me or Josh even really mentioned it to each other like while it was happening. It was just when we walked out, we're like, that was a bit mental. What was that going on, you know?
Yeah.
I think the cinema is quite a cursed place, really. It seems to every time I go there seems to be like something bad going on.
I'm scared to sit down in the cinema now.
Is a cursed place.
I think it is, man.
Mate, I love the cinema.
I love the cinema. Last time I went though, like to my right, I had a woman who was crushing cans and putting them in a paper bag and like scrunching up the bag.
How many cans did she have?
Mate, like a comedic amount. Like it was like she'd come there to like do her recycling.
She came there with a multi-pack of freaking Cokes.
I don't know what she was like. I don't know what she was doing or where she was getting the cans from. Maybe it was the same cans. She was like somehow reinflating them. But it went on for like pretty much the whole movie, and I was just sort of
You should have just politely said,
right.
sorry, can you stop doing that, please?
I'm really bad at stuff like that. I just never say anything.
Yeah, you get it from Josh.
And like, I remember once going with Jake to watch Goosebumps, and Jake's hilarious for this because he's cursed. Yeah. Like everywhere he goes, there's like someone that's doing something really annoying just to him. Yeah. And it's almost his like eternal plight is that he's always got to deal with it. We went to Goosebumps, and Jake's obviously the sort of person who will say something if he's being annoyed.
Yeah.
So there were kids like running back and forth, like in the row behind us, or maybe it was on the same row as us, and like putting their flashlight on and like messing around. And we were like really annoyed, and Jake like turned around to say something, and I think there was a woman like having a seizure.
Oh
no.
We were like, oh. And then like when we got out, there was like an ambulance outside
Jake
and everything.
Went to shout at the woman that was having a seizure.
I think he'd like turn around to be like, stop messing around or something, and then
oh god.
So the kids were running around with the light because obviously there was
like go and get someone to like help their mum.
So their mum or something started having a seizure. They freaked out and thought, what can we do? Oh, we should probably like turn our phone light on and maybe run to like the reception to see if somebody can help us. These poor little kids.
And we thought,
and meanwhile Jake's like,
oh my god,
stop running! I'm gonna shout at those kids in a minute.
I think he did realise before, like he turned around and was like, oh, that's not good, before he did say anything. But it's a cursed place, man. It's a cursed place.
I have to say, I think I must be pretty lucky when it comes to the cinema because I have pretty harmonious.
Especially in like Everyman Cinema in Bristol. Have you ever been there? Like that's epic.
Jake used to work there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got sofas. Is that the one near Cribs Causeway?
No,
it's got like sofas.
It's on White
you can order like pizza
to
your sofa and stuff. Like, and
amazing.
Yeah,
it's really good. They have like great drinks and food.
Oh, is that the one with like quirky sofas?
Yes, it's like in an old theatre room, and everyone's got their own sofa.
And it's almost really like it's almost like more like a living room sofa than like a cinema seat.
Yes,
so cool.
it's really good.
I've seen pictures of it. I've never been.
Whenever I have like a movie I really want to see, I go up to Everyman. It's a really good place.
I go to the cinema fairly often. I mean, I went to see. I took Evie to go see the new Lilo and Stitch.
What's the new one like in Bridgewater? Because I haven't been into that new one.
It's good, man. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I've been up the top in the VIP part, like very top. Yeah, it's lovely up there. They have their own bar.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I haven't been to it. I do go to the cinema a lot. Took Evie to go see Lilo and Stitch a couple of weeks back. Loved that. That was really nice. There was hardly anyone else in there. There was like another dad with like a couple of little kids, and obviously like just basically chilling as a dad. We're just sat there like happy. Girls are happy. There was a weird couple behind us, but they weren't like causing issues. They were just like a bit of a strange. They both looked like they were about like 40. They didn't have any kids with them. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, you can go. There's nothing to say you can't go watch Lilo and Stitch if you're not, if you're an adult. But I just thought it was a bit strange. They were like sat next to each other, and they were just like both not judging, but was super overweight. Sat there with like just surrounded by like hot dogs and popcorn and sweets and drinks and everything.
Like a king's banquet.
And like I swear they were both just wearing like loads of Disney merch. But to the point that it gave
Disney
off like
mukbang.
Like it just gave off like a weird vibe. I was like, these people, like the sort of people like you go home and like their house is like a weird Disney sanctuary.
That Disney adult video I showed you, man.
But it's weird because they're like both like fully grown adults that are like older than me and they don't have any kids, so it gave off almost like a bit of a creepy vibe.
Yeah.
As I said, nothing against them. I hope that they have a good, happy life. But do you know what I mean? And like, and it was really weird. Like everybody left, and they were still just like sat there, like
watching the credits
for some reason. Yeah, just while everyone else had left, and like they didn't really look even very happy. They were just sat there, like
waiting for the next screening.
Yeah, with all their Disney merch on, with just like literally about like enough food to feed like 30 people, and I was like, mate, this is weird. This is a bit of a strange insight.
I've never had an experience like that.
No, they weren't causing any trouble. They were quiet. Yeah. They kept themselves so it's not like it didn't affect the movie. But when you're just like out and you make a bit of a mental note, like they're a bit odd. Yeah. To be fair, people probably do that about us. But
I go to the cinema a lot, and I think that's probably why I have more experiences like
more
it.
Chance.
I'm rolling the dice more times,
Yeah, I say went to go see Thunderbolts, the new Marvel movie Thunderbolts, about a month ago.
28 years later, it's out now, isn't it? That came out on the 21st.
Yeah, me and Tyler are going to go watch it like really soon.
Oh, nice!
I can't believe you've not been to the new cinema, man. Do you just go Odeon every time, or?
Pretty much, yeah. No, I think I'm a creature of habit, and I think to me, because I went to Taunton Odeon a lot when I was a little kid, there's something I think a little bit
of a nostalgic hit.
Yeah, it's a bit nostalgic, and almost I would go as far to say as like romanticised.
Sure.
Because I have so many memories of going there to watch like, the original Jurassic Park movies, and like like the Lord of the Rings movies. I would have watched in those when they came out, and as a result, I just quite enjoy like even the drive there, just where the drive's a little bit longer but not that long. It's like I'm always getting excited, like the drive there, and the way you get the pick and mix sweets from. They're still exactly the same place when we were younger. I mean, I don't even get them nowadays. I got some for Evie I got some for Evie when we went to see Lilo and Stitch, but even that, like getting them for her was like really nice. I was like, I was like, me and Josh used to go there, and we would like fill up a bag of pick and mixes, and we would like sat there like, which ones we're gonna get, and I'd be like, I'm gonna get these ones, and then Josh would be like, oh, I like these ones. Like even that is like such a great memory, and stuff like that.
He still does.
Yeah,
every time he goes, he still fills up his pick and mix.
I would be disappointed if he didn't. He's probably disappointed that I don't.
Yeah,
I do get sweet and salted popcorn though, because I think just popcorn's really nice. I do love my popcorn, and it's like it's way better for you than getting like a bag of sweets. You know, way better for you. But I still really appreciate it.
I'm so boring when it comes to cinema. I don't like the rattling or like the eating or anything. So I just I literally will just bring in a water and like have it if I need it, but like not get any food, like just sort of chill.
No, I kind of agree, but kind of don't. I usually get food, but I eat it all at the very, very, very start before the film starts, so that I'm not, so I can sit and watch the film and then have a drink with me, and then I eat beforehand or after. I won't do it during, because I can't concentrate otherwise. I'm focused on my eating, so I don't get it down myself.
That's what I'm like. Yeah,
I don't necessarily intend to do this, but I just pretty much always have finished my popcorn by the time the movie starts. Yeah, I just like, I'm just by default. Yeah, I just like, because I just like love eating, and I'm just like I just love food, so I just like sit there and I'm just like.
I always try to make it
have like
last,
a handful, and then it's like a handful. Yeah, same here, man. Yeah. But I think I just accepted by this point that like it's almost like. I still think it's like a worthwhile part of the ritual, like getting it. But and I do enjoy watching the trailers, but I've pretty much always caned it by the time.
See, I hate trailers.
Really?
I turn up. So say the other day I went to go and watch Mission Impossible with my nan, which is her favourite film franchise.
I think it's hilarious that your nan loves Mission Impossible. I love that.
She loves like action films and like.
Didn't you say her favourite actor is Vin Diesel?
She loves Vin Diesel. She loves Tom Cruise.
That is mental. That is mental.
Yeah, anything with like lots of guns and army man.
Shout out Pauline.
Yeah. So we go for like a monthly little cinema watch together, and whenever we go, say the film the other day was on at 7:15. It said, right. We turned up at 7:45 because like half an hour later than they schedule. And when we turn up, there's still like one or two trailers to play. There's still like, and then they've got the little thing of like, oh, okay, now we're starting the movie. And then they start the movie. And I just think if there's a movie that I want to see, I kind of know I want to see it already. The last thing I want is to know what's going to happen in the movie. It fully triggers me, man. Because I'll be sat there, they'll put the whole movie in 3 minutes. And then by the end of those 3 minutes, like, I know what's going to happen. I've seen all the cool things that I would leave the cinema being
I do
that's
know,
what I'm looking forward to.
My Uncle Dom has exactly the same opinion as you. He will go out of his way not to watch a trailer. I feel like there should be an art to a trailer, though, where trailers should be handled very carefully so that it's
you get a vibe for what it's going to be about. But
it's giving you a vibe and it's teasing you, but there's nothing crucial should be... It should be like
just to pick a movie in the evening, like that's part of the ritual. Like when we me and my missus sit down, we just get a load of trailers like lined up, and then we're like, oh yeah, that one looks cool.
Because to me, I'm like, well, how do you really know? How can you get that vibe for it otherwise? I mean, there might be another way, like if it's a sequel or something. But
I guess I'm also just like. I sort of know what films are being like, highly rated, and I know what actors and directors I like and stuff. So if something's coming out that I want to see, I would almost rather go into it knowing I'll probably like it, but not have any clue what it's about or like any of the. Just could leave it a complete mystery. So it's like I'm so shocked by what's going on the whole time. Yeah,
I am really looking forward to seeing 28 Years Later.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I really enjoyed the first two. Movies.
It's annoying, like from here, the cinema's about 45-50 minutes away.
Is it really?
Yeah, because Shrewsbury's quite probably 45 minutes, 50 minutes away, and then,
lovely town though.
And then Hereford as well is like is
it a town or a city? Shrewsbury, I can't remember.
I think it's a town. I think it's a town. Yeah,
I think you're right. It's quite a big town, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely
lovely
a big
place. Town. Great restaurants and museums and lovely. Do you know it's one of the finest examples of a Tudor place, Tudor town in the UK, and you can really tell when you're walking through it. It's like all those like Tudor style buildings and stuff. It's really, really nice, really nice.
That's what I like about Ludlow, all the Tudor buildings.
Shropshire in general is a really nice place. I think there's also one thing I remember thinking when I drove through. So I essentially drove through the entirety of Shropshire. Didn't see a single speed camera, which I thought was nice because they are basically sort of like just a way of getting extra money out of people, aren't they?
Yeah.
I do take issue with speed cameras, especially when there's lots of evidence from countries and places that don't have them that there's like no more car accidents or anything in those countries than places that do have them.
It's a money thing.
It's like, it's like as if
I got one on the way back from OPEF recently.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to a speed awareness.
When me and you and Josh went to go.
Yeah, because it was like so late and going like back from Bristol like on the M5, and it was like that's where I got caught, like on the motorway, just going out of Bristol or whatever, and I didn't realise there was those ones that are like on. Yeah, well they're like on the motorway, like on. I saw this flash,
like
and it was
Gloucestershire.
like, these huge, you know, like when a motorway has the signs and everything, but they go all the way across the motorway, so they're like massive. Like on top of those, like,
do you know what? I think I got caught on one of the. I think I got caught on that exact same one, but coming back from York in, I think when my great uncle Bill died, so like a few years ago now.
Yeah,
exact same one.
Yeah,
on a speed awareness course, not good.
Brutal.
Yeah, I did it online though, which was like, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Didn't you just do a speed awareness course at home?
Yeah, just online, like, and but it's funny, like, you see all the different people like there, like in their situations and stuff, and like there was this a lot of foreign people, and there was the guy who was doing the course though, who was like presenting it. He was like quite strict. Like he's like, no, everyone's got to sit up. You know, I've got to see your face all the time. This isn't like just something you're doing. Like you got to treat this like you're in a classroom now, and like quite you know, serious and stuff. And like one of the guys just like lied down on his bed, like, you know, and was just like kind of watching it like on his laptop, but while like lying down. And the guy was like, Panyo, up now. Yeah, well, I can't remember. It was like
up now.
It was like. Why are you lying down? Would you lie down in a classroom? You know, it got real funny with him, and I was like,
to be fair, I bet a lot of people do. I bet they do get fed up, because I bet a lot of people fully take advantage of the online thing.
Yeah,
because it's like everyone. Because I've been to a couple of speed awareness courses since I passed my test when I was 17, but because I've always gone to them in person. Like, it's pretty chill, but that's because there's only so much you can relax when you're like sat at a table with a bunch of freaking strangers, like in almost like a classroom setting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I bet they get some people that take the right mick on those online stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like just have it on and they're just like watching telly on mute with the subtitles.
Yeah, he basically said if there's anything like that going on, and when he was talking about something, he would like ask different people on the call. Like he made sure, you could tell he made sure he went around everyone like 3 times, like each, you know, throughout the whole of the 3 hours or whatever it was, like to make sure that people are listening and stuff, you know. And it's like, and like actively asking questions. And also at the end of like a section, he'd be like, right, write down what you think of like this. So you've got to watch this little video and you've got to write down what you think, how many times, or I can't remember the examples, but it's like what the speed should have been and stuff like that. And then when that finished playing, he'll be like, Drew, what do you think of that one? Like, and you know, what did you put for point A?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then he'd go, Panjo, what did you point for point 3? Like,
Panjo,
you know?
I love this guy Panjo. I'm just like putting a little character in my head now, Panjo. Oh man, that's great. Right, in honor of Peridot Greenleaf, today I've got some interesting serial killer stories, because
that sounds really scary. In honor of me,
some
serial killers
of Peridot. No, because you're into your true crime, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're into your true crime. We've chatted about it.
Want to be serial killer?
Yeah. She's definitely. I think. Do you know what I was thinking earlier on? She was telling me why she thinks serial killers are fascinating.
Oh no!
And I think she's one of those. You know, there's like that type of woman that like fall in love with serial killers.
Oh yeah, like
I'm not. I swear.
We'll write like letters to them and stuff in prison.
No, I wouldn't do that. I swear.
But the way she was describing it, she was like, "There's something like fascinating about them," and like the way that, you know, like. But she was saying that basically almost in a way like she empathizes with them, like she knows that they're like bad.
That makes me sound
but
weird.
You know what they say about the women that end up falling for these guys and then writing them love letters? It's because there's this weird thing in some women's brains where like almost like the worse a guy is, they want to like fix them.
No, I don't have that. I swear I don't. No.
Without saying that, you basically explain.
Wait,
that,
let me explain myself.
Okay.
Basically, I feel like I'm quite a sympathetic person, as in I can see both sides. So within their backstory, to an extent, I can understand. So, for example, when I've talked to you about the Menendez brothers, like,
the ones
I
that killed their
with
abusive
that.
parents.
Yeah, I kind of sympathise with that. I don't agree that murdering's right, but I think in some situations I'm like, but then when I was on about the death trial bit, that's when I kind of got myself into a hole there. I don't sympathise with it like that. I think to some extent
you just want to give
fine.
them a hug. I'm not joking.
No, yeah. I just feel like with some of them, I think, yeah, okay, you deserve it. Like, you're horrible. But then in some senses, I'm like, oh, but then at the end of the day, they're still a person.
There are some tragic stories where I think, as we were saying earlier on, before we started the show, I think obviously it's really good to be empathetic. And I don't even think there's like any such thing as maybe being too empathetic. I guess unless... I don't think as long as you're not letting your empathy become a detriment to yourself or the people around you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that in itself, I don't think that you can be too empathetic as long as you've got these other things in check. I think it's a great thing to have.
And you're like not letting someone off the hook. Like being empathetic doesn't mean that you're letting someone off the hook for something. Like you could still be empathetic and then like have like tough love and like not. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Almost like be like, oh well, you know, I'm not. And it's not going to change what's going to happen. But.
Yeah, and like you know, there could be two people and they might both on paper have killed somebody, but there's a big difference between somebody that say has killed somebody out of a crime, like a genuine crime of passion, or you know, an accident, even if it has involved violence, compared to a cold, calculated serial killer who went out, found an innocent person, killed
it's completely
them,
different, isn't it?
And then like chop them up into pieces and then put them in jars on their wall. Do you know what I mean? Like that is it's two completely different things.
We've talked about it, finding it fascinating as well. Like watching the YouTube videos of these like serial killers and stuff, and like when they'll like do the police interviews with them and like slowly like bring out the confession of them and stuff like that.
So interesting.
But it's just some of the random ones you see, like that lady who locked her husband in a suitcase, and they had this argument. And they got a bit wasted, and she put him in this suitcase, and then went to bed, and then come back down, and he was just dead in the suitcase. And that was just like, and it was just like sad. But she didn't understand how they weren't going to let her home. She's like, so you're going to let me home like after I've just talked to you about this? Like she couldn't, and she was almost like being like, oh my god, like why have you still got me here and that, and like didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Of like
she was like, well,
literally killed your husband. Like you know, you're not ever going out again. Like
wasn't I can't remember in the end, but didn't they find some evidence? That,
on her phone,
or like some audio footage of him being like,
let me out, I can't breathe.
Muffled,
and she was like,
and panic.
yeah, how'd you like it now? And stuff like being like,
and then she just like went upstairs and went to bed.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's murder. That's murder.
Yeah.
Meg was telling me about
even
Savage
if you didn't
one
think
the
he was
other
going to be
day
dead
as well.
the next day, that's almost stupid. Sorry.
Yeah. Meg was telling me about Savage one the other day, and when you think like when you've got kids and stuff, like you know, like this guy had apparently done it numerous times with his other children as well, but like they were somewhere in America and it gets super hot, and like he would just like leave them in the car sometimes, but like keep the air conditioning on, but the car switched off after 30 minutes. Like that was just he knew, like that's what his car did.
What, like little children, like babies?
Yeah, so like I can't remember how old this girl was, like probably like 5 or something, and
what do you even need to leave them in the car?
He just got back. And the other kids are in the house, left the kid in the car, and you know how the story's going to go, but like literally, when they came out, she was like gone, and he'd just gone in and had a gaming session, and it was just like, and I just think how
unforgivable,
savage to think that, and like,
massive neglect,
people like that don't deserve to have children.
No, poor little child, man. Honestly, it breaks my heart. But yeah, I found some of the most interesting serial killers of all time to talk about. I'm sure most people will have heard of these guys, but really fascinating stories. And one of them also has a fascinating end, so you can look forward to that. It's almost like a little bit of like a plot twist at the end. But I thought I'd talk about Jeffrey Dahmer first.
I get told I look like Jeffrey Dahmer quite a lot.
I've heard of that name, but I don't know.
Similar coloration.
Yeah.
You know? Baby blues. Sort of like blondie, like ashy browny blondy hair.
Yeah, it's a bit of the face shape.
A little bit of an ombre mustache.
Sort of probably about the same height. He was like bang on 6 foot. You know.
What was he called again?
Maybe like Jeffrey Dahmer, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. He was born on May the 21st.
Not someone that you want to look like, really. I don't think.
No, probably not, my friend. No. Probably not, my friend. But we'll look past it. He was born in Milwaukee. He's known, his nicknames are either the Milwaukee Cannibal. He's also known as the Milwaukee Monster. He's an American, or he was an American serial killer and sex offender who killed and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Many of his murders involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of body parts, typically all or part of the skeleton of his victims. Most of his the people he killed were killed by bludgeoning, basically severe skull and brain trauma.
That's savage.
But yeah, he ended up he was convicted of so many crimes when he was eventually locked up for good that he was sentenced to 941 years imprisonment.
It's a long sentence.
It's a hell of a long time, isn't it?
So it wasn't a death sentence in that part of America then?
I guess not, because if there was, then he would have been done. But yeah, there was 16 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and many counts of second-degree sexual assault and enticing children for immoral purposes. Yeah.
Didn't he take pictures of his victims as well sometimes?
Maybe he did.
They found loads of pictures and stuff like that. I watched I learnt about it through the Netflix documentaries.
I've just seen
like
that. They've got that. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got one that's like the Menendez one I was talking to you about. Like it runs through his life. It's called Monsters, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right.
That one's really good. It talks about just before the murders, and it's just showing his life throughout it until he's in prison.
Yeah.
That one's good. And then I also watched all of his clips, isn't it the trial stuff, the court things.
Right. Yeah.
I watched all that. That's
it's very interesting because in America, in the UK, it's illegal to film inside court, but because Americans love their juicy drama, in America they don't have that law. So you can have so obviously the whole Johnny Depp, Amber Heard thing all televised.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy. You can just watch clips of them in court. It's mental. In the UK, I said it's literally a crime to film in court. But you can just watch it. It's mad. It's mad in a way, isn't it? Because it's almost like watching a reality TV show. But it's because it's such serious topics. It seems almost a bit strange in a way. But one of the things I think is quite creepy about Dahmer is that he was found to be completely legally sane at his trial, which in a way makes it more creepy.
Oh yeah, it does.
Because obviously a lot of people try and plead insanity and stuff like that. But despite all of these awful things that I said he did, he was just found to be legally sane. He was diagnosed at some point in his life with borderline personality disorder, and schizophrenia and psychosis. But when he actually went under examination during his trial, he was found to be completely legally sane, which I thought was very interesting. But yeah, just give you a little bit of background on him, because I think often it's the background that makes it interesting, isn't it? So that basically from an early age, he developed a fascination with dead animals. It developed at the age of 4 when he saw his father removing animal bones from beneath the family home. According to his father, Lionel, Dahmer was oddly thrilled by the sound that the bones made and became preoccupied with animal bones, which he initially referred to affectionately as his fiddlesticks. He occasionally searched beneath and around the family home for additional animal bones and explored the bodies of live animals to discover where their bones were located. In May of 1968...
Bit of a red flag already.
It's a bit strange, isn't it? Yeah, in May of 1968, the family moved to Bath Township in Ohio. This address was their 3rd in 2 years, and the Dahmer's 6th address since marriage, so he moved around a hell of a lot as a child. The home stood in 1.5 acres of woodland, with a small hut a short walk from the house. The small hut was where Dahmer began collecting large insects and the skeletons of small animals such as chipmunks and squirrels. Some of these remains were preserved in jars of formaldehyde and stored within the hut. 2 years later, during a chicken dinner, Dahmer asked his father what would happen if the chicken bones were placed in bleach. His father, pleased with what he perceived to be his son's scientific curiosity, demonstrated how to safely bleach and preserve animal bones. Dahmer incorporated these preserving techniques into his bone collecting. He also began collecting dead animals, including roadkill that he would go out and find, which he would dissect and bury beside the hut, with the skulls occasionally placed atop makeshift crosses, which he would decorate the hut with. By this point, definite red flags, isn't it? According to one friend of his at school, Dahmer explained that he was curious as to how animals fit together. In one instance, in 1975, Dahmer decapitated the carcass of a dog before nailing the body to a tree and impaling the skull upon a stick in woodland near his house. As a prank, he later invited a friend to view the display, claiming to his friends that he discovered the scene and the remains by chance. which must have been pretty brutally horrifying for his friend. Like
like
a more normal car, being like, look what I found behind the woods, and it's like this disgusting, like almost like horror movie type scene, you know, really strange. And unfortunately, his father, almost like inadvertently, in a way, like taught him how to do a lot of these things. It goes on to say that, you know, the same year that this happened, his father Lionel taught his son how to preserve animal bones. His mother, at the same time, his mother was seemed to have been an interesting lady. She seemed to be addicted to quite a lot of medication and stuff like that. And she was basically addicted to Aquanil, laxatives, and sleeping pills.
Addicted to laxatives?
Bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is a bit
just
weird.
going around just pooping everywhere. You have weird sons outside decapitating dogs, and
Didn't
you're
he
just pooing around the house
taxidermy
everywhere.
too?
Yeah. I think he made taxidermy. Taxidermy,
I thought his dad taught him it as like a bonding experience, and then clearly that was a bit weird.
Well, I think one of the reasons they think that, you know, there's many different reasons, isn't there? I guess why people can at least guess why people turn out the way they do. But his mum apparently was completely distant, because by the time she was as addicted as she was on this like Aquanil, laxatives, and sleeping pills, it just made her completely emotionally distant from her husband and her children. So he essentially had no relationship with his mum. So he was almost like, because his dad was working a lot, his mum was just like always in bed and like drugged up. So he was just doing all this weird stuff, and there was not really anybody around to like tell him no or tell him that he was being weird or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it says that, you know, by the time he was doing his freshman year at Revere High School, Dahmer was seen as a complete outcast. By age 14, he had begun drinking beer and hard alcohol in the middle of the day, frequently concealing his liquor inside the jacket he would wear to school. When a classmate asked why he was drinking scotch in a morning history class, Dahmer shrugged and said the alcohol was his medicine. Some people have hypothesized that, you know, his mum's, you know, drug abuse normalized him to things that he thought that doing things like this was normal. You know, I guess what is normal to you is all in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? If you grow up and you think that sort of behavior is normal, you're going to think it's normal. Although largely uncommunicative, in his freshman year, Dahmer was seen by staff as polite and highly intelligent, but earned only average grades. He was a competitive tennis player and briefly played in a high school band. When he reached puberty, Dahmer discovered he was gay. He did not tell his parents. In his early teens, he had a brief relationship with another teenage boy, although apparently they never had intercourse. By Dahmer's admission, he began fantasizing about dominating and controlling a completely submissive male partner in his early to mid-teens. And his fantasies gradually evolved to focusing on chests and torsos. Seems a bit weirdly random, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was about 16, Dahmer conceived a fantasy of rendering unconscious a very particular male jogger he found attractive, and then making sexual use of the jogger's body. On one occasion, Dahmer concealed himself in the bushes with a baseball bat to lie in wait for this man, who he didn't know. He just saw him jogging around his neighbourhood. However, the jogger did not pass by that day. Lucky for him.
Yeah.
Dahmer later admitted this was his first attempt to attack and render an individual unconscious to serve his fantasies.
I wonder if that jogger ever found out.
Yeah.
You know, if he was like, man, that was
he
me.
probably guessed it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he like later on he heard this and he was like, mate, that was my route. That was my route I took every day. Yeah, Dahmer was known by this point in his life as well to his high school peers as a class clown who often staged pranks. It became so regular that he would do pranks that they became known as doing a Dahmer in school. This would include him pretending to have epileptic seizures, or pretending to have cerebral palsy, causing great distress in the school. Occasionally, Dahmer would perform these antics for money or to purchase alcohol. Money to purchase alcohol. So, you know, he'd just do whatever, basically. He would do weird stuff to the highest bidder, essentially. Okay. By this time in his life, Dahmer's grades had declined massively. His parents hired a private tutor, but with limited success. The same year, in an attempt to save their marriage, his parents attended counselling sessions, but they continued to quarrel frequently. Then his father discovered his mum had been having an affair, and they broke up. Not long after this is when Jeffrey started his career of knocking people out. And yeah, well, you know the rest. I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, as I said, you know, killing people, dismembering them, and often doing, sexually abusing their corpses, essentially.
Absolutely gross.
Necrophilia, as it's known. Necrophilia and cannibalism. But yeah, do you know how he met his end, Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah, didn't he get like prison for beaten up basically in prison? It was in prison, wasn't it?
So this is an interesting story actually. So Jeffrey Dahmer, you could call this dramatic irony.
Dahmer
was it Mrs. Stokes? Drew, we had an English teacher. Dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Far from the madding crowd. Is that Mrs. Stokes? Yeah.
So.
On a twist of fate, as the Hardy Boys would say.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer himself was killed by a murderer. While Jeffrey Dahmer was serving in prison, there was another guy serving prison with him who was called Christopher Scarver. He was in prison for killing his former boss during a robbery in 1990, and he was sentenced to life in prison. At that time, he claimed that the voices he heard in his head told him what to do, basically. So he claimed that, the voices in his head told him to kill his boss, and basically this guy was a slave to these voices in his head that told him what to do.
That must be
Scarver was it must be mental, yeah. Scarver was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and doctors believed he suffered from what's known as messianic delusions. That's when you believe that a god-like figure is telling you what to do in your life.
Wow.
I believe that the guy that shot Dimebag Darrell had something similar, Drew. Like basically you think that a higher power, like you're chosen, and that a higher power is telling you what to do, and as a result, you don't really feel like you're actually in control of your decisions. You feel like everything you're doing is being told, to you. He was put on antipsychotic medications in prison, but they did little to help calm him down, especially after he met Jeffrey Dahmer, who the voices in his head basically told him especially to dislike. Scarver was apparently absolutely disgusted by Jeffrey Dahmer, who by this point was just known in the prison as the Milwaukee Cannibal. He was disgusted by his homosexuality and his brutal murder spree of the 17 men and boys. Scarver, in his mind, didn't really see himself as a murderer. He saw himself as somebody that was serving the purpose
vigilante
of like a higher. Well, he thought that he was carrying out the will of a higher being. So in his regard, he saw himself, even though in reality he was sort of in the same camp as Dahmer, he saw himself as in a completely different camp. He saw what he was doing almost as just or reasonable. According to Scarver, Dahmer was completely unrepentant for his crimes in prison, and often taunted other inmates at Columbia Correctional Institution by making his prison meals look like severed limbs and squirting ketchup all around the room, pretending it was blood. On the 28th of November 1994, Scarver was fatefully assigned to clean the prison gymnasium alongside Dahmer and another inmate named Jesse Anderson. When Dahmer and Anderson played a small prank on Scarver, this was the final straw for him. The voices inside his head told him to beat both men to death, which he did so with a 20-inch metal bar from the weight room. Then on his way back to the cell, Scarver told a prison guard that God told him to do it. And that was the end of Jeffrey Dahmer.
See, that's what I mean. Like, it's quite a brutal way to go out, but then he's quite like a mean person himself. So, like, I don't feel bad for him. You
don't feel bad for Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, I don't feel bad for him. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, well, that is kind of like a bad way to go. But then, like, what you did, you kind of deserve it. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like more of like a scenario. Forget the person himself and what he did. Just like the way he went is more like what I feel bad for, not him himself. That's what I mean by with the I feel bad for them. It's not like I feel bad for them.
I don't particularly feel bad for the way he went, but I feel like obviously as a society we should have some order, so I don't think it should be left into the hands of other psychotic murderers to take care of the murderers.
What he got, but
I feel like if he was essentially put down as somebody that was a threat to innocent members of society, then I would feel differently about that, because as we were saying before we came on air today, I guess what you have to ask yourself as like a moral question is, if you take the moral standpoint of killing is bad, so you should just never kill someone, regardless of how much, of how many people they've murdered or how many people they've raped or whatever, then obviously, that's sort of a basic moral reasoning, which I think we can all sort of understand to an extent. But then obviously what complicates it further, and when it makes these things much more complicated, is when you think, okay, well, if that person then you let live potentially could kill 10 completely innocent people within the next year, wouldn't the more moral thing be to put this person down, so that innocent people, aren't basically at risk of being killed by this person? Because let's face it. I mean, like serial killers and mass killers, they're not. More often than not, they're not one and done. And I'm not talking about people that accidentally kill people in crimes of passion and stuff like that. Like manslaughter. I think manslaughter is a bit different, isn't it? I'm talking about murder. Like murder is murder. So it is different. So in that regard, I think there is an argument to be made for the death penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate the idea that it's almost like with someone like him, when he went to prison, he almost just felt like he'd gotten away with it because he was just quite happy to be there.
And they said he was bragging about his crimes. Apparently.
Exactly. Yeah, I hate the idea of that.
I wonder what his his last thoughts were as that guy was like.
I read something and it, just as you were talking about it, I was reading some Wikipedia stuff and that, and apparently he didn't make any noise when he died, and he was just getting bludgeoned in the head. He had multiple head trauma, and he died just an hour. He was still alive when they found him, but it was within the hour that he died. But apparently he didn't make any noise when he was actually getting bludgeoned, and apparently said, "Go ahead, I don't care if I live or die." And that was the last words that he said to Scarver, apparently. And Ben just didn't make any noise as he was just beating him. I was like, that's pretty savage.
That's pretty dark in itself, isn't it? This is a dark individual, especially when you, as I said, when you reiterate that apparently, in courts under the criminal psychologists and stuff, they just deemed that he was completely sane. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's no remorse or anything, no repent.
Yeah,
you don't care what it meant.
Yeah. Another day, another death.
Yes.
Another sorrow, another breath. Yeah. Shout out to anybody that understands that reference. GCSE practical test. Basically that's the song "No Remorse" by Metallica.
Nice.
And the GCSE practical test. Me and Josh and Drew played that song in GCSE music as our exam. Josh did the drums.
Nice.
I did rhythm guitar and Drew did lead guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who did vocals?
We did instrumental.
We did the vocals, didn't we?
Yeah, we did an instrumental version of it.
Why didn't we do the vocals?
It was probably singing it and playing it. I wouldn't have been able to sing it and play it at the same time. I don't know if probably I think.
I don't know if I would have been able to at the time. I can't really remember. I'd like to think I would have been able to. Do you know what I mean? It's not that hard. I played a bit of rhythm and singing, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, how do you guys know much about Edward Kemper? You don't know about Ed Kemper?
No.
I don't know.
This guy's nuts. This guy reminds me a little bit of the wrestler Kane, but if Kane was real.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. His nicknames.
Demon Kane.
Yeah. Literally, Edward Kemper, born December 18th, 1948 in Burbank, California, was known as the Mad Titan or the Ogre of Aptos. He was 6'9" tall.
Oh, that's tall.
Yeah, it is very tall, isn't it? And I love that. Oh, that's tall. Yeah. An astute observation.
Yeah, I could bet he was near him.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, had 10 victims over the course of his. It's always weird, isn't it, calling it a career?
Yeah.
What do you do for a career?
Career killer.
Murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this guy is very interesting. This guy is messed up as well. I mean, arguable if he was as messed up as Dahmer, but I think once you get to a certain point of messed up, you're just really messed up, aren't you? Sort of what's the word I was looking for? You're what was it? Breaking? I don't know. Basically, it's a pointless thing to debate, to even think about.
Right.
Is it splitting?
Splitting hairs.
Ends, something like that.
Splitting hairs.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes, that's the one. Splitting hairs. Yeah, Edward Emil Kemper III, as was his full name.
Third.
Was an American serial killer convicted of murdering 7 women and 1 girl between May 1972 and April 73. So quite a short career.
By girl, is that like a child? Like
7 women and 1 girl. Yeah, I guess that just means under 18.
Okay. Oh yeah.
He also killed his grandparents.
Oh. That's mean.
It was very mean, isn't it? But he had a bit of a messed up life.
Yeah.
He murdered his grandparents when he was 15 years old. 15 years old. Most of his murders included necrophilia, decapitation, dismemberment, and possibly even cannibalism. Although he never admitted to it outright.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting about him? And it's one of the reasons I talked about him as well as Dahmer. He is another person that at his trial was found criminally and legally sane.
Wow.
So both Dahmer and Edward Kemper, despite murder, necrophilia, cannibalism, were found to be sane under the court of law.
And he actually looks a little bit like Dahmer as well.
Yeah, but like a giant.
Like I've got like a photo of him up now.
Yeah.
He's got like pretty much the same glasses on. He's got like a mustache as well. Pretty much the same haircut.
Oh my god, no, I have seen him.
Pretty much the
I
same
did hear
guy.
about this.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Mad Titan.
Kind of crazy.
The Mad Titan himself.
Oh.
The Mad Titan. Isn't that Thanos' name as well?
Yeah, the Mad Titan.
Oh god.
I think like he's one of the more scary serial killers because it must have been pretty terrifying in, say, the dead of night. Just someone that large.
Yeah.
It would have almost seemed like a monster.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because like
100%.
I think
Like,
once you get over sort of maybe like 6'5", you then become almost like so abnormally tall that it almost would be like sketchy in the dead of night.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just so weird. Like, it must just be like, I know it's obviously their choice to kill someone no matter what, but especially when you are like sane, like that's really is like your choice. That there's nothing in your head that's like causing you to do that apart from your own choices.
Oh yeah, it's really weird.
Just you want to.
It's really strange as well. Kemper seemed to be one of those people that he did try and almost like make excuses for what he did, which is strange. And he seemed to believe it himself. But I'll tell you a little bit of the story of him. So he was born in Burbank, California on the 18th of December, 1948. He was the middle child of 3 children and is the only son born to Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper. So, you know, his dad had a couple of other kids, but his mum only had the one. His mum was a native of Montana. And his father, Edmund Emil Kemper the second, Edmund Emil Kemper Jr., was a World War II veteran who after the war tested nuclear weapons at the Pacific Proving Grounds before returning to California to work as an electrician. Edward Kemper was always massive throughout his life. When he was born, he weighed over 13 pounds.
Wow.
13 pounds.
Wow.
That is big.
Imagine having to birth that.
That is
Poor
mum.
mother.
I hope his mum had big hips. Let's put it that way. I mean, a big child is anything over like £8, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like that's £8 isn't even rare, but it's considered.
I think
large.
I was quite a big child.
I think I was about £8.5.
I'll have to ask my mum. I don't know, but I know I was like freakishly big.
I think that
my brother was huge, but like fat, like chubby,
yeah, like a little fat baby.
Sounds
so funny, doesn't it? Yeah.
Until he was like 4, he was like really big,
like the
like
Michelin
really
Man.
fat. Yeah, literally, like he was like rolls.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think as you probably aren't surprised to hear, fellas, I think the largest that I know of anybody, I'm sure I might know somebody, but not as well. I think my dad was like £10 when he was born. He was probably like eating all my grandmother's food when he was inside the belly. You know? But but anyway, over £13. So he was a big boy. He was, by the time he was 4 years old, apparently he was already a foot taller than all his other schoolmates. Well, you know, like preschool, contemporaries. In youth, Kemper practiced strange rites with his younger sister's dolls. This would usually involve removing their heads and their hands and making strange displays out of them. On one occasion, when his elder sister, Susan, teased him and asked why he did not try to kiss his teacher, he replied, "If I kissed her, I'd have to kill her first."
What?
This was when he was still a little boy. Kemper recalled that as a young boy, he would sneak out of his house armed with his father's bayonet and go to his second-grade teacher's house to watch her through the windows. He would do this regularly, stalking her with his father's bayonet in hand. Already very creepy. One thing I think is very interesting about Kemper, and this is obviously of great use though to the sort of like criminal psychology world. He's very, very happy to talk in depth about all the things he's done and all the things that's gone through his head over the years, which is quite intriguing, isn't it? You know, don't you think?
Clearly wants to be quite notorious.
Yeah, and I think at this stage, because I'm pretty sure he's still alive and he's still in prison.
Yeah.
So I think every now and again there'll be like some request from somebody that's doing some television program or some criminal psychologist that's trying to learn just about their profession or something. and they'll request if they can speak to him in prison, and he's always happy to do so, and he'll speak apparently very openly and honest with them, even if he's still to this day making excuses for what he did. At least he's honest with his version of events. Yeah, which I think is quite interesting. Kemper also stated in later interviews that some of his favourite games to play as a child were Gas Chamber and Electric Chair, in which he asked his younger sister to tie him up and flip an imaginary switch. He would then tumble over and writhe on the floor, pretending that he was being executed by gas inhalation or electric shock. Apparently he would do this,
as you do,
with a lot of dramatic vigour.
Yeah, because everyone plays that when they're little. Yeah, my favourite game.
Yeah. Kemper has said that he came close to death several times as a child. Once he said that his elder sister tried to push him in front of a train. Another time, she pushed him into the deep end of a swimming pool. Kemper at the time couldn't swim and apparently almost drowned. He said that this was quite traumatic for him.
She seems a bit mean then as well.
Yeah, well, to be honest, this is another one where the mum seems a bit his mum seems much more mental than Jeffrey Dahmer's mum. Jeffrey Dahmer's mum almost more like checked out of reality. Okay. But Kemper's mum had a mean streak in her, as you'll find out. But it says that Kemper had a very close relationship with his father, and was notably devastated when his parents separated in 1957. Kemper's parents, Clarnell and Edmund, had an acrimonious relationship. Apparently Clarnell, his mother, often complained that her husband only had a menial electrician's job. Edmund, on the other hand, complained that his wife made him feel more suicidal than even the bleakest points of World War II. He stated that she affected him more than 396 days and nights fighting on the front lines of World War II, and that's how much she stressed him out. She stressed him out more than war.
Brutal, man.
More than like possible death.
Jesus.
After his parents' divorce, Kemper lived with his mother in Montana. Kemper had a severely dysfunctional relationship with his mother, who was a neurotic, domineering alcoholic who he claims frequently belittled him, humiliated him, and physically abused him. Kemper exhibited antisocial behaviour, such as cruelty to animals, by the age of 10. And by the time he was 10, he buried a family pet cat alive.
Oh, the poor cat.
That is actually brutal, isn't it? As somebody that owns cats, the idea of doing that is so beyond twisted.
How'd they even get the cat in there?
He must have just been really rough and brutal with it. I mean, he was 6 foot, he's a massive guy. Even if he was only 10, I expect he was already like 6 foot or something. You know what I mean? He buried the cat alive. Once the cat was dead, he dug up its body, decapitated it, and mounted its head on a spike. Kemper later stated that he derived pleasure from successfully lying to his family about killing the cat, which is interesting in itself as well, isn't it? Because he derived pleasure from the lies as well, which is quite an interesting thing just even to dissect that in itself. I mean, what would you say? Is that like more like a narcissistic trait or a sociopathic or a psychopathic trait?
Sociopathic,
because
all of it. All of the above.
There's like getting a thrill even out of the lying about it, I think is quite strange, isn't it? At the age of 13, he killed another family cat, which he thought favoured his younger sister over him. That's why he claimed he killed it. He kept pieces of the dead cat in his closet after he killed it. Edward Kemper's mum often made her son sleep in a locked basement because she feared he would harm his sisters, and stated he was a real weirdo in a phone conversation to Kemper's father, unaware that her son had been eavesdropping on the conversation. Kemper stated later that she would often smack him for the slightest act of insubordination.
He does sound like a bit of a weirdo.
He sounds like a right weirdo, and his mum sounds like a right weirdo as well. Kemper claims that his mother refused to show Kemper affection, and when he would plead with her for hugs and kisses and would ask her why she never showed him affection, she would say that it was because she feared it would turn him gay. Right. Kemper also claims that she told the young Kemper that he reminded her of his father and that no woman would ever love him. Though Kemper also complained that his mother was always trying to get him to go out with girls. Did Drew just disappear?
Yeah, I was just... As you were saying that, I was looking on the screen to see if Drew was there, because he was pulling the same face for ages, and then he just popped away.
Drew's just gone again, everyone. But I'm sure he'll pop back up again in a minute.
Yeah, he'll return.
It'll pop back up again. It's like a weekly occurrence.
Yeah.
Drew just goes at some point. Kemper later described his mother, which is quite ironic in a way, as big, ugly, and awkward. Which is, imagine how people would describe him, which is quite ironic. Chip off the old block. He also described his mother as a sick, angry woman. People that also knew his mother have since postulated that she probably had borderline personality disorder, and it certainly would have helped Kemper in terms of like a role model for him growing up. At the age of 14, Ed Kemper ran away from home to try and find his father in California. Once there, Kemper learned that his father had remarried and now had a stepson. Kemper stated that his father cared more for his new family than he ever did for him.
That's rough.
In different tellings, though, either Kemper's father or his mother shipped him off to live with his paternal grandparents, who lived on a ranch in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, about 2 miles west of the town of Norfolk. Kemper described his grandfather as a senile old man and said that his grandmother frequently emasculated him. Do you see what I'm saying about Kemper? Like, he's making a lot of excuses for himself, isn't he? Like, all the time.
It's never his fault.
Which in itself is like a massive red flag, isn't it? On the 27th of August 1964, at the age of 15 years old, Kemper killed his grandmother Maud with a rifle after an argument. He shot her once in the head, and then once already dead, shot her twice in the back. Then went and got a knife and stabbed her corpse several more times. When Kemper's grandfather, Edmund Emil Kemper, arrived home, so his grandfather on his father's side, Kemper fatally shot him in the driveway. Kemper then phoned his mother, casually asking what she thought he should do. She told him to phone the police. Kemper did so and then waited for police to arrive. Kemper told police, when questioned why he killed his grandmother, that he just wanted to see what it felt like to kill grandmother. And later said he killed his grandfather because he knew his grandfather would be angry with him.
Right.
Yeah. Like, of course he would.
No
Like, I like it's like, better kill Grandad too because I'm not putting up with him being angry with me.
Yeah.
As if like that's just like a logical next step for him.
Crazy.
Kemper's crimes were deemed incomprehensible for a 15-year-old to commit, and court psychiatrists diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia. He was sent to Atascadero State Hospital, a maximum security facility in San Luis Obispo County that houses mentally ill convicts. It's quite interesting though because from here he seems to have almost like started a redemption arc.
Right.
And he's an absolute genius of a man as well, at least in terms of IQ. So at the California Youth Authority, psychiatrists and social workers disagreed with the court's psychiatrist's diagnosis. Their report stated that Kemper showed no flight of ideas, no interference with thought, no expression of delusions or hallucinations, and no evidence of bizarre thinking. They also observed him to be extremely intelligent and introspective. They did an IQ test on him, which measured 136, which is 2 standard deviations above the average. Kemper was re-diagnosed with a less severe condition, a personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. Later during his stay at Atascadero, he was given another IQ test, which produced an even higher result of 145, which makes him officially a genius. So very, very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Very logical.
This is an interesting case because it's like, what the hell was going on in his head in that case?
I know. I know. They did all these tests on him that showed him to not suffer from delusions of grandeur or to suffer from hallucinations. And obviously, IQ tests are more logic-based than creative intelligent. So he must have been a very logical thinker. A lot of it's all like, if a train left this station at this time and another one did, But he must have been a very, very logical thinker. Kemper endeared himself to the psychiatrists and was apparently an absolute model prisoner. He was even trained to administer psychiatric tests to other patients and inmates. Don't you think that's interesting?
Yeah.
A psychiatrist later said, he was a very good worker, and this is not typical of a sociopath, certainly not a psychopath. He took great pride in his work and was great at it. Kemper also became a member of the JCs while in Atascadero and claimed to have developed some new tests and some new scales to work with, inmates, which who came up even developed new ways of doing things for the institution.
So much potential.
I know, it's actually crazy, in a way, isn't it? By the way, the JCs apparently just stands for it's the United States Junior Chamber. Apparently, it's a civic organisation which is all about emphasis on business development, management skills, individual training, community service, that sort of thing. So he became he became a member of that and sort of worked in that while he was in the institution, as well as everything else, which is quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
After his second arrest, Kemper said that being able to understand how these tests functioned allowed him to manipulate his psychiatrists, admitting that he learned a lot from the sex offenders to whom he administered tests. That's quite creepy in a way, isn't it, as well? Because he basically said that he used the opportunity to talk to the other inmates as a way to get information to become himself a better predator.
Yeah, he was almost training himself rather than actually trying to help the other people.
100%.
So scary.
100%. In 1969, on his 21st birthday, Kemper was released on parole and was once again in the public domain. Against the recommendations of psychiatrists at the hospital, he was released into the care of his mother, Clarnell. Even though they didn't think that he was a massive danger, he did think that hey, Drew, how you doing?
Good, man. You all right?
Yeah, you back in action. Back in action.
Yeah. Sorry about that. The Mac just restarted itself.
No worries, man.
I thought all the issues were gone, but it just threw a funny and just restarted.
Revenge of the Sith, man. Yeah. That's cool. We've just been talking more and more about Ed Kemper. So basically, he got arrested for killing his grandparents.
For his grandparents?
Yeah, he killed his grandmother and his grandfather. Served time in an institution, but he was only 15 years old at the time. Weirdly, he passed all of their tests with flying colours. Essentially, was showed to have no no delusions, no hallucinations, anything like that.
Did he say why he killed them when he was 15? Why
he said he killed his grandmother after they had an argument, and then he killed his grandfather because he knew. Oh yeah, he said that he killed his grandmother because he wanted to know what it would feel like. And then when asked why he killed his grandfather, he said because I knew that he'd be angry about it. So in itself, that's messed up, isn't it? I like how oh yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. What's interesting is they said they did all the tests on him. He basically passed with flying colours, and they did several IQ tests on him as well, which showed that he was a genius. He had two tests. The latter of the two tests, where he had an IQ of 145, which is officially a genius.
What?
Yeah. He apparently was such a model student that he even ended up working in the institution, helping out the other psychiatrists while he was an inmate there. Later on, once he was completely incarcerated, much later on when he was spending life in prison, he admitted in an interview that he used his time in the institution, talking to the other offenders, sex offenders and murderers, to get information on how he should act and things to do to basically make him, how to fool law enforcement and psychiatrists that would interview him, and also how to better almost his own way of
climb up the ladder of being a murderer.
Yeah. So where we're at now is he's 21. He's just been released, and even though the psychiatrists at the hospital have basically didn't think this was a good idea because they thought his mother was the cause of all of his issues, he was released into the care of his mother, back into his mother, which definitely not a good idea. Apparently by this time she had remarried and taken the surname Strandberg, but divorced again very shortly after this. So they resided together in California, a short drive from where she worked as an administrative assistant at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Kemper later demonstrated further to psychiatrists that he was rehabilitated, and on the 29th of November 1972 his juvenile records were permanently expunged. The last report from his probation psychiatrist read, if I were to see this patient without having any history available or getting any history from him at all, I would think that we're dealing with a very well-adjusted young man who had initiative, intelligence, and who was completely free of any psychiatric illness. It is my opinion that he has made an excellent response to the years of treatment and rehabilitation, and I would see no psychiatric reason to consider him to be of any danger to himself or to any member of society. And since it may allow him more freedom as an adult to develop his potential, I would consider it reasonable to have a permanent expunction of his juvenile records. So essentially, he was just all of his records of killing his grandmother. were just like buried. Just mad, isn't it?
Crazy they can do that though.
Yeah, he played him, man.
Yeah,
he played him, didn't he?
You
made a fool.
Guaranteed
he
that
made a
whole
fool
time in the back of his head, he was like, "I'm gonna kill again."
Yeah, I mean, he even like admitted later on that it was almost like he was just like a game to him. He was just gathering intel and playing them all, you know. Yeah, while staying with his mother, Kemper actually attended community college in accordance with his parole requirements and had hoped to become a police officer, though he was rejected apparently because of his size. I didn't know that there was like a size requirement.
I would have thought a tall police officer would be more like
better at like subduing a criminal.
They don't do uniforms that size.
Yeah, by this point, he was 6'9" tall, which led to his nickname Big Ed. Hey, it's Big Ed. Kemper maintained relationships, though, with the Santa Cruz police officers, despite his rejection from joining the force, and became a self-described friendly nuisance at a bar called the Jury Room, which was a popular hangout for cops. I think it's really interesting that he would like choose to hang out with police officers in his spare time.
It almost seems like he was like you say, enjoying the game so much that he wanted to almost like hide under their nose a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
and maybe right in front of him.
Yeah, and it's like almost like the thrill of like being so close to harm, or almost like so close to danger himself, but trusting in his own wit to to never actually be under any true harm. He says Kemper worked a series of menial jobs around this time before gaining employment with the state California Division of Highways in 1971. During this time, his relationship with his mother remained toxic and hostile, the two having frequent arguments that the neighbours often overheard. Kemper later described the arguments he had with his mother around this time, stating the following: "My mother and I started right on with our horrendous battles. Just horrible battles, violent and vicious. I've never been in such a vicious verbal battle with anyone else in my life. It would go to fists with a man, but this was my mother, and I couldn't stand the thought of my mother and I doing these things. She insisted on it, though, and just over stupid things. I remember one roof raiser was over whether I should have my teeth cleaned or not." Yeah, very strange. When he saved enough money, Kemper moved out to live with a friend in Alameda. The same year he began working for the Highway Division. Kemper was hit with a car while riding a motorbike. His arm was badly damaged and he received $15,000. As he was driving around later on in his 1969 Ford Galaxy, he bought with part of the settlement money, he noticed a large number of young women hitchhiking. Around this time, he began storing plastic bags, knives, blankets, and handcuffs in his car. He first picked up young women hitchhiking, then peacefully let them go. According to Kemper, he pitched up around 150 hitchhikers who were in line with this pattern. This was before he felt homicidal sexual urges, which he later referred to as his little zapples.
Oh,
that's weird.
That's grim.
Oh, I'm having one of my little zapples. Yeah. Later on, though, as time went on, he found it impossible to resist the urge of his little zapples. At times, he blamed his victims for his killing them, saying that they were flaunting in his face that they could do any damn thing that they wanted, and that society is as screwed up as it is. And that's why he killed them.
He went full Joker on them.
He did went full Joker on them,
Blaming society.
So, he started killing people, and then between May of 1972 and April of 1973, in 11 months, he had killed 5 female college students, 1 female high school student, his mother, and his mother's best friend. He picked up hitchhiking college students and took them to isolated areas where he would either shoot, stab, smother, or strangle them. The idea of being strangled to death as like a young by like a 6'9" like hulking
terrifying
man. It's crazy. In the middle of like some pitch black woods in the middle of America as well.
So scary.
Oh yeah. He then took their bodies back to his home, where he would, where most of the time he decapitated them, and then would engage in necrophilic acts with their corpses before dismembering them completely. Kemper stated in his interviews that he often searched for victims after having arguments with his mother. Psychiatrists and Kemper himself have espoused the belief that the young women were surrogates for his ultimate target, which was always his mother. Crazy.
And he killed his mother in the end as well.
Yeah, killed his mother and her best friend, yeah.
Was that his final ones?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, killed his mother and his best friend. So eventually, after killing, at least several women, he built up to his mother. Got quite like just a little interesting story to round up the Ed Kemper case as well. There was an FBI agent called Robert K. Ressler who conducted interviews with Ed Kemper in prison. When this was like a very small, typical maximum security prison room, but it was a very, very small, compact room equipped with a panic button under the side of the FBI agent's table. This button was intended to notify the guards when wrestler required assistance or when the interview concluded. During one interview session after its completion, wrestler pressed the panic button, but there was no response from the guards. Wrestler started panicking and growing anxious as there was no response from the guards and they were nowhere to be found. Wrestler said that he remembers looking into Kemper's eyes and knowing that Kemper was picking up on wrestler's growing anxiety. Kemper spoke calmly to wrestler, making a chilling statement. Apparently he said to him, "If I went crazy in here right now, you'd be in a lot of trouble, wouldn't you? I could screw your head off and place it on top of the table, ready to greet the guards." Apparently there was a very tense, chilling conversation that went on with Kemper for up to 30 minutes after this altercation.
Whoa, that's
before the
sketchy.
guards casually arrived in the room, apologising for the delay.
That's mental.
Mate, that was like an accident waiting to happen. They're
How
lucky.
can they get away with
Like what were they
with that?
doing?
Yeah.
Were they just like smoking out the back or something? You know, like, oh, he'll be all right. He's only in the room with a 6'9" demented giant evil killer.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
If you were that FBI agent, you'd be like, in your head, you'd be like, oh man.
Yeah, the
Sounds like he
second
was
that you
still
press the
crazy
button,
as
nothing
well.
happens.
I would
then-
just start crying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, please don't hurt me.
Sorry.
In a way, I reckon that'd almost be the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
probably.
Yeah.
Predators like
Yeah,
prey.
Yeah, but he
you know,
killed
it's
a
like,
lot of women though as well, so I'd be just screwed.
oh, you would so be screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so
I just,
screwed.
I just thought,
You'd be
oh,
so
great.
screwed.
I can't do anything either. Look at you. There's nothing
Yeah.
I can do.
I mean, yeah, you're tall, but you're not like jacked.
No. I'll do a bronze jeté and run away from him like that.
Yeah, have you got like any mental? Yeah, because Imogen's has been doing ballet all her life. Could you not do some mental? Could you not like parlay like a ballet move into like a flying
Don't
kick?
even think any of that would work, to be fair.
No, could do
No,
some flying mental
I
kick.
might be able to pirouette my way out there, but there's
Just pirouette out the room.
Yeah. Like if I do it fast enough, I might start flying.
I like the idea that you were
That'd be
talking about
funny.
anime earlier on. If you pirouetted fast enough, you'd like cause some sort of tornado attack.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Like watching so that's like the sort of thing that would happen on like a mental anime,
Yeah.
innit?
Yeah.
Pirouette so fast you create a tornado and just like takes them out.
Might
Have
be
you ever
able to
watched
do some sort of-
Shang-Chi?
No.
It's a little bit like,
the Legend of the Five Rings.
Yeah,
or 10
yeah,
rings,
yeah.
whatever it is, yeah.
It's a little bit like ballet and that.
Yeah, it is a bit.
The fighting style.
I mean, I think that anything like Wing Chun or any of those like kung fu martial arts, they are very dancey, aren't they? And there's
it's a very like fluid movement.
There's the Brazilian martial art capoeira, which is based on dance, and apparently it was done as a form of self-defense for old South American slaves. So any type of like fighting or self-defense training was obviously not allowed for slaves, because people that are obviously enslaving you don't want you to be dangerous.
No.
But so what they did is they would hide martial arts training in dance. So they would make it look like they were dancing, but capoeira is like an official martial art, you know. But it's essentially like kicks and punches and elbows and knees hidden in dance movements.
That's smart.
It is very smart, isn't it? I don't know if you remember ever playing like Tekken
Yes.
back in the day.
I love
But there's
Tekken.
a character in Tekken called Eddie Gordo, and he is a capoeira specialist. So all of his moves in the game and that are like very like capoeira based. It's all like very dancey and like you're moving around, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere it's like wapa!
yeah. Hadouken.
Hadouken!
That was a good one, man.
Isn't that that's not Tekken, that's Street Fighter, isn't it?
Oh,
Hadouken!
I used
Why
to
you
love
wouldn't care?
Tekken.
Tekken's so good.
Yeah. I used to play
I
against
love
my
Tekken.
mum.
I used to love Tekken. Yeah, I used to play it with my Uncle Dom all the time, like growing up. Such a good game. Pool, King, is it Yoshi? No, I almost said Yoshimitsu. that's the. There is a character though, isn't there? And he's like a little samurai guy.
Man, I never played Tekken.
Oh, it's something
So I
actually.
can't-
It's something like
I haven't
you
played
out.
it in a couple years.
I think it is Yoshimitsu actually.
Yoshimitsu.
Yeah. I think I was getting confused a second with the Mario character, but that's just Yoshi, isn't it?
That is Yoshi, yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely Yoshimitsu. Yeah. Hao Rang. What was the main guy in Tekken called again? Can you remember? Yeah.
No, I used to
Not
play when
Ryu.
Jin Kazura.
I
Was
used to play when
Ryu
it
a-
looked like almost like a
character?
kangaroo, I thought.
Like a
But
kangaroo.
But I might be mixing it up with something else I used to play. But I did used to play Tekken.
It depends on the Tekken.
On the old PlayStation.
I haven't played all the Tekkens. There might have been some character on one of the ones that you had that wasn't. But
maybe.
There was
King. It was
King.
like an animal-y one, and I used to like that because I was obviously like...
There was the character King, and he was like had like a leopard's head, and he was like this big.
Oh yes, it was that one. Okay, yeah, it was that one. I used to love that one.
Yeah,
it was.
So
I
not
knew
a
it was
kangaroo.
something animal. No, yeah. That must be something else.
It was like some sort of kangaroo. What a leopard's head? Oh yeah, that one. Yeah,
yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Cat, kangaroo, you know.
Yeah, I think was it.
Their character designs do look really cool. To be fair,
super cool. I actually controversial. I actually probably prefer Tekken to Street Fighter.
Really?
Even though Street Fighter is definitely probably more liked overall.
Really? What about like a Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat's great. I don't know.
That's the only one I ever really
honest,
played.
I like all three of them pretty close, to be honest. They're all awesome, all of them. But I just probably have the fondest memories of playing Tekken.
All right, fair enough.
I think Josh. I remember Josh really liked Ryu in Street Fighter.
Yeah, I thought Ryu was a...
Sometimes me...
he was a Street Fighter
Sometimes
guy.
me and Josh would play in Street Fighter, and I'd always play as Ken, and Josh would play as Ryu. Ken had like the orange gi on, and had long blonde hair, and Ryu had a white gi on and had like a red...
I think I would have gone
headband.
as Ryu, yeah.
Yeah.
He's quite cool.
It was like for some reason Josh just like, Josh is very particular with stuff, and he just really liked Ryu.
Mm-hmm.
But I thot Ken was cooler anyway, so I was like, yeah, I'm happy to be Ken.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know how we got onto that. But yeah, Ed Kemper, Jeffrey Dahmer. What a pair of nut jobs. Just to finish on because, it brought us down a little bit with all this talk of like death and killing and stuff. So to end the show, do you have any crazy bean facts you'd like to tell us?
Well,
Imogen?
let me get my bean facts up. Hang on.
Imogen is an expert in beans.
That sounds really weird. That's only because I had to do like an exam, and it was like a week-long ESP, and it was about beans. So
I like the idea that
I don't know if I should say that or not.
Every social media, or if you ever like made a LinkedIn in that as well, it's like Imogen Legg, bean specialist, and it's like you with like a little bean like in your hand.
Oh god. One fact I have from the British Heart Foundation is that pulses like beans, peas and lentils are actually really good for your health, especially if you have a heart condition. Right. So there's a little fun fact.
Eat your beans up.
Yeah, make sure you have your beans. And I found one which I thought was quite cool because it talks about farts. But
we love a fart fact.
Yeah,
we love a fart fact.
While they can be the butt of a gassy joke.
So you did there.
Beans are excellent for gut health.
Nice.
So the gassiness and flatulence you feel is in fact your gut bacteria enjoying a feast in your stomach.
Is it really?
Yeah, apparently.
It definitely does make you very gassy, doesn't it? I love eating burritos, but it's such a difference. Oh man, that's it. But like sometimes I have burritos without beans, right? And if I do that, I'm not gassy at all that evening, right? If I have a burrito with either butter beans or cannoli beans, which are my go-to bean of choice for burritos, man, I fart like a dozen times that night.
You are Mr. Bean.
And every one, it's like, it's not like just like a little pop-off.
Love that.
Sorry, go on.
Beans.
No,
more bean.
The last one
Italian
I've got
beans,
is
they're the best, Drew.
Yeah. The last one I've got is just the fact that they're just great for Earth in general. They use less water, less land, less pollution, just great for
So they're an economic friendly thing to farm.
Yeah, basically, and they grow really fast as well.
So you don't need to water them very much. They don't require much from you, and they will just grow, really. And then you can enjoy gut health and flatulent heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Farting your way to paradise.
Yeah.
I don't mind, when you grow like peas and they come in a pod.
Yeah.
And they like sugar snap peas, is that a thing?
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Pretty thin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I really like petit pois.
Oh, I like petit pois.
They're my favourite.
You can actually make a lot of different dishes that are really nice for like a lot of supplements as well, like supplementing from like meats and stuff like that. Beans are and peas and stuff like that are really good like supplements.
Do you mean do you mean substitutes?
That's it, yeah.
You
knew what I meant.
Yeah, like what you mean because they're like high in protein and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're great for like they're actually more healthy apparently in some cases.
Nope. No. I think it's like I think it could be a viable substitute, but I don't think they're healthier than.
Like the plant-based ones, like they're better than them apparently. That's what I've.
Oh, sorry, you're saying that.
Yeah.
If you substitute,
I didn't say it very well.
Sorry, you're saying if you substituted a generic plant-based substitute of some sort of meat thing in the supermarket, and you substituted that with just using beans or something instead.
Like a bean-based one, yeah.
Right,
like
sorry.
it's apparently
I agree with
it
you.
tastes better.
Yeah.
It's better for
More
the earth,
natural.
and it's healthier. Yeah.
Well, it's not as processed, is it? A lot of these like vegan substitute stuff, there's like so much like freaking weird stuff in them.
Yeah, I didn't
like,
say that very well at all.
No, that's all right. No, that's all right. And so it's quite fun decoding.
Yeah.
Decoding it, you know.
Decode the language.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that. I think in general, you know, obviously the less processed something is, the better it is for you. So I'd much rather, if for some reason I wouldn't want to eat meat, which I would definitely, that would never happen to me. But yeah, I'd much rather eat just like a load of beans than like one of those weird, you see like Plant Kitchen?
Yeah.
And it always just it doesn't even look right, let alone taste right, is it, you know?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I could go vegan, man.
No.
Not for me.
Now, have you ever been around somebody that's cooked like vegan bacon?
I've got a friend who just like everything she cooks is like actual slop. Like it looks like this, like I don't know how she lives. She puts photos in the group chat every day of like her food, and we're all just like, that looks like rotten. That looks horrible. So and a lot of the time it's vegan stuff. So
man, my missus' sister and her fella sometimes, if we're ever like hanging around with them for a weekend or something, sometimes they've cooked like vegan bacon around me in the past, which in itself is an oxymoron, isn't it? There's no such thing as vegan bacon. It's either bacon or it's not bacon.
Yeah.
But honestly, it smells weird. When it's cooking, it smells awful. But like, it doesn't smell like a food. You know, it smells like there are like chemicals being released into the air. And when you look at it on the plate afterwards, it just doesn't look like something you should eat. I feel like my body is going like Calum, make sure you don't eat that because that is not meant for human consumption. Do you know what I mean?
My mum said that before. She said it tastes like she's vegetarian, so she said it tastes like cardboard. She said it tastes just as gross as it looks. See, like, she hates it.
At least with a vegetarian, there's still like, you know, you can still eat like eggs and dairy and stuff. So there's like there's still like, you know, you can get in lots of good nutrients and well-rounded things. But man, some of the vegan stuff is just, you know, like at the end of the day, right? Each their own. All right, if there's any vegan out there, I respect you and I respect what, you know, your life choices. But I'm just saying it's not for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for me, man. I like how you guys are all just silent for that. Like,
I'm in complete agreement.
Preach,
not for me.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
Praise
about this awesome chili
Hallelujah.
later and my kilo of steak mince that I bought from the butcher's earlier.
Oh, Drew's just zoned out. He's not even listening to us. He's just thinking chili con carne.
I was thinking like, I wish I had more. I wish I had some cannoli beans to put in there as well. I've only got black beans for it.
Dude, you need to get some cannoli beans, dude. You know what the Italians like. Everything tastes better from Italy. They're an Italian bean. Cannoli beans. They're almost a bit like butter beans, but they're a bit smaller.
Still white.
And they're still white. It's exactly the same colour as butter beans. They're a bit smaller, and in my opinion, a more enjoyable, more palatable texture. And that's coming from somebody that likes butter beans, right? But that's how much I like cannoli beans.
They're a bit over the top for me sometimes. Butter beans, like a bit big.
Yeah, they're very big. Yeah, a bit, you know, a big bean. It's a bit like a woman that does steroids. So yeah, cannoli beans are just you know, right on the money. Hit the spot. So yeah, everyone go eat a cannoli bean. Enjoy it. You heard it here first. Cannoli beans, way forward. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening to another Pandora's Box. If you're listening on the radio, remember that we also put this out on YouTube and Spotify. Just type in Pandora's Box Podcast. Appreciate if you can give us a like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Keep an eye out. At some point in the future, we'll be doing a giveaway. Drew is in the process of custom building an amazing guitar, which will be up for grabs for anybody that gets involved with that. Remember that there's a bit of a look at that. There you are, guys. Sneak peek. You know, it's like watching an embryo grow into into Hercules. You know. Remember we've got an Instagram and a TikTok. Go follow us on there. We're going to be coming back with a vengeance on our TikTok after a bit of a dormant period. Yeah, so keep your eye out for that. If you haven't watched the slow-mo clip of Drew almost burning his face off on social media, make sure you go check that out because it's really funny and worth a rewatch. That just went out on Instagram last night. And if you are listening on Spotify and YouTube, but don't usually listen to AW Radio, and you want to listen to the best music on the air and just some great shows, regardless of what music you're into, whether it's like rap, rock, metal, pop, whatever it might be, then tune into AW Radio. Let it just be your background music all day long. Great shows, great music, and
a whole lot more from us.
And a whole lot more from us, yeah, because we know, me and Bullwinkle especially do loads of shows, and young Perry Doe has been joining us on Russian Roulette. And it's always, we're always putting out good stuff. So it's almost like an extension of the Pandora's Box content anyway. But yeah, we love you. Whether you're a long time listener or a brand new listener, we appreciate you. Have a great week, and we shall see you next time for another Pandora's Box.